Welcome back, everybody, to Asia Pacific Grandmasters. We're just in time to, you're just in time, sorry, to join us for the first match of the day. It is going to be Staz versus Flurry. Whew, first try. Check me out. Professional talker, by the way. And it should be a good one. We've got a little bit of different stuff compared to the usual. A couple of different decks than the norm here. We have, from Staz, I would say deviating from the standard, he hasn't got Druid and has instead gone with the Highlander Hunter, something that I'm actually a pretty big fan of. I feel like it's a very well-positioned deck at the moment, especially in Last Hero Standing, just as kind of like a first deck to go for that can have a very strong sweep potential because it doesn't have too many terrible matchups.
Yeah, I'm honestly not too sure which particular matchups that Hunter is very happy to queue into, but I kind of had a similar feeling towards it as with Rogue, either the Galakrond or Highlander Galakrond version, because they both just kind of feel like they have a shot against anything. And if you're playing Last Hero Standing without a clear idea of what you think is going to be the top decks in the meta, I feel like this is also a solid way of going about it.
Staz's Warrior has been banned. No surprises there. It just feels like every single time it is instantly banned away, if not for the Demon Hunter. But I think it looks like Flurry is not especially afraid of the Demon Hunter. It could be an interesting couple of matchups. Maybe he likes his chances with the Rogue on his side up against the Demon Hunter. He's got a pretty interesting build of Rogue. He's got a pretty interesting lineup overall, actually, does Flurry. There is, of course, the Highlander Mage, which is very underrepresented, you could argue, this week in APAC Grandmasters, at the very least in the top 8. It didn't look especially strong last week, but I think there's definitely some potential if you can hit the right matchups, maybe some of the more controlling matchups.
For sure. And if we're going to be very nitpicky about all of these archetypes, it's the first time we're seeing all of these for this week.
True.
I think we managed to dodge any boxes yesterday, but Flurry's a believer in the Mage. And more importantly, this Hunter is not Highlander, it's Dragon Hunter, which we were seeing a lot of in the previous meta, even before Ashes of Outland was released.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool looking Hunter. This is one that really skyrocketed in popularity just before the rotation, I believe. But a lot of the core cards are still sticking around, given that it's Dragon aggro Hunter, and so Descent of Dragons has most of the core cards that you're looking to hit for this deck. But then even for the Rogue, like you said, it's technically a new archetype that we haven't seen. It's the non-secret variant of Rogue, and instead is Stealth Galakrond Rogue. And even then, it's a pretty interesting build of the Stealth Galakrond Rogue. I don't think I've seen Greyheart Sage, but no Skyvatir in any Rogue list. That kind of feels like they go together like sausage and mustard, if you ask me. But it's a pretty cool list nonetheless.
Like bread and jam, like Derek, and a certain famous actress.
Not going to let it go, are you?
No,
you just can't let me and Livia be happy.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, it's not even a Highlander Galakrond Rogue. It's Galakrond Stealth, to be completely specific. And we've seen Highlander with a sprinkling of each of the packages, but this one is going about it a completely different way. And I'm glad that we are going to be seeing it at some point this series if he doesn't get swept, but not the first game, because it is Staz's Rogue versus Flurry's Mage.
Well, if we did want to talk about sweep decks, I feel like Galakrond Rogue, why not? It's a perfectly powerful deck that has few really bad matchups, I would argue. I think the one real weakness that seems to have presented itself in the current rotation is the lack of healing for Rogue. Now that you can't tech in Snip Snap and Ziliax for a fantastic amount of lifesteal, Rogue is kind of back to where I feel like it should be, where they have incredibly powerful tempo swings, but if you're able to get that damage to the face quickly, they really struggle. So maybe that Hunter on Flurry's side can be used to take out the Rogue. But if not, I really wouldn't hate Staz's chances of going all the way with this.
Yeah, I can see it happening. But he's already got to face down this Mage. And I remember a tweet from, I think, Galen asked in a poll whether you are, as Mage on turn 2, let's say you don't have a turn 2 player, are you supposed to ping your own face or your opponent's if the Rogue is on the coin to deny Seal Fate? And there's a very vigorous discussion in the replies, and I remember somebody saying you probably don't even keep Seal Fate as Rogue versus Mage, but Staz decided to do just that.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're generally looking for... Or sorry, I agree with your point that a lot of people think you shouldn't keep it, because the cards you're looking for really are Togwaggle, Galakrond, and Kronks. I think pretty much exclusively, outside of like a huge Edwin, to start things off, because you just want to make sure that you don't run out of stuff. I feel like that's the one way that you are really going to be... that's the highest percentage chance of losing this game.
It's true, but at the same time, I don't want to completely fault Staz for keeping Seal of Fate, because of course Highlander mages vary a lot with their lists, and we can see from Flurry's list, he's running not just the Solarium and Ooze, and of course Zephyrus. So that's actually a fair amount of 2-drops that the Seal of Fate could run into. Didn't quite pan out that way, but Flurry didn't ping his own face, so Staz actually Seal of Fate.
I was going to say I don't think that will come up this game with Solarian on 2, but you know what, Gia? You see the lines.
So many options.
We always see the lines. That's what casters do. Anyway, for Staz, he's got the option to coin out the Shield of Galakrond. I do like playing the Boom Pistol Bully on going into the Mage turn 6. It just seems so powerful. It denies the Reno, the Dragon caster. So
yeah.
I like going about it in that order.
Well, the one other thing I'm considering is playing a Lackey and Shadow Stepping it this turn, so that next turn you can go coin 0 mana Lackey Togwaggle to get the wand down as soon as possible.
I can see that. Looks like that's what Staz is also opting for here.
Probably Fellwing, I think. Feywing, sorry.
Yeah, but that kind of awkward for Mage to deal with, and also just a good sized threat. Oh, but he's coining it out this turn. So it looks like he's still on board for the Boom Pistol on 5, but wants to play Tog on Curve. I can see this.
Yeah, it's actually quite a nice deviation, isn't it? I didn't actually see this after he went for the Draconid, Draconic Lackey.
Well, with the starting of the Lackey, I think he was definitely thinking of your play, but he then quickly pivoted when offered a good 4-drop.
I really like that, actually. I think that's very smart, yeah.
And especially with the ambush, to make sure that any minion that turn could be dealt with.
Yeah.
Flurry. Rolling Fireball is just short of being able to make quick work of.
Yeah, and the 1 health is just so irritating, you can never even ping it off.
It's true. So it is just going to be Cartoot here, and Flurry, I guess, in his mind, he's hoping Staz just takes the trades, and then he can clean up the rest with Rolling Fireball, but what a hand for Staz.
So I think I would rather see... Well, sorry, assuming that Staz is going to pick Wand, which I think he probably will, unless there's something I'm missing, I would rather see Wand played first and then Kronks, because if you do draw a 0 mana Galakrond, you want to save the Kronks, I feel like.
Yes, and even if you don't draw the 0 mana Galakrond, just drawing first and making sure that maybe you can get the Galakrond naturally and then get Kronks for more value, I think is a good way of going about it, because this matchup does tend to go a little bit later. But it looks like Staz is considering even Kronks now, but he decides against it, which I completely agree with.
Ooh, I could actually see the merit of all of these options here. It's probably, just another Feywing, because it's nice and cheap. He's probably going to have lots of things to spend his mana on over the next few turns.
Oh, not a Tog turn. Okay.
Interesting.
So, how good of a Bamboozle board is this? I'm... Okay, he got the Witchy Lackey. Looks like he's evolving the Feywing.
I wonder if he'll have time.
He had a quick shake of the head. Maybe he didn't get to play the Bamboozle along with it. I guess he shook his head at the bad roll from 5-drop.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big fan of this, and not just because of this Reno top deck, but because now he doesn't have a Lackey in hand for the Tog turn.
It's not even like he had a read that Reno isn't in hand, because obviously he played the Boom Pistol last turn, and obviously the Reno came off the top, and it was the perfect card, right? Yeah. But I think Staz maybe should have expected it would be in hand already, because he went for the Boom Pistol on 6, which means it couldn't be played. And therefore playing the Lackey means that now it's a whole extra turn before Staz is actually able to get the Togwaggle down.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the whole idea of shadow stepping the Lackey was to make sure that Tog gets down as soon as possible. I like the line. I understand why he went for the dagger because it felt really bad, I guess, to trade your 5/5 into a 3/1. But then, in that case, the only upside of getting that extra 5 damage and using your dagger instead is just being able to develop a bamboozle, which is not particularly good when the mage doesn't even use attacks to clear off your minions most of the time. They'll use spells. So, not the greatest pan off for Staz there, but I think he's still in with a shot. These are still, of course, very strong cards in hand.
Ooh, Coilfang Warlord is a very powerful option there. I believe it's a 9/5 with Rush and Death Rattle. Summon a 5/9 with Taunt.
Yes, a very strong new card from Demon Hunter, which people thought was absolutely nuts when it was announced, but it turns out Demon Hunter's too fast for that nonsense. I'm liking the look of Double Argent Commander here. One of the few cards left in Hearthstone that has charge.
We salute you, Commander.
Mm-hmm. And for Flurry, maybe he could send those space and then ping off the Coilfang. Yes.
I like the look of that.
Divine Shield is very, very annoying for Rogue to deal with. But with the pickup of Evil Miscreant and Backstab, maybe Staz actually has a good way of cleaning this up now.
So we could see Lackey, Togwaggle, Backstab on this turn. It may actually be at the point here where Staz, given that it's turn 8 already, should try and set up for a turn 10 Togwaggle, where he can go for the wand on the same turn. Yeah, because then he could go for Fellwing plus Miscreant, Feywing plus Miscreant on this turn, which allows him to go really wide on the board and sets up for a nice Lackey turn with Kronks on turn 9.
I can see that, but I think it would be very dependent on what lackeys came off the Miscreant that turn. If he had gotten, let's say, Draconic, and or maybe another Faceless, just ways to not answer the commanders, the board is suddenly looking very scary.
Ooh, well, speaking of looking scary, all of a sudden for Flurry, he has the option to actually just go pretty aggressive here. We could see, okay, obviously Alex Straza is available on this turn and it looks pretty good, but rolling Fireball Blizzard into Caligos on turn 10 does just allow for a potential Pyroblast lethal.
It does. But I could see it falling a little bit short, whereas the Alex Straza this turn seems to be just more consider all.
You know what? I don't actually think I agree. I think that going for Fireball this turn, maybe without the Frost Nova, you could go like Fireball Ping and it clears up pretty much everything. And then you go for Caligos turn 10. If it misses, you go for the Puzzle Box. And then you go for Alex Straza thereafter.
Okay, I can see it. I can get behind it without using the Frost Nova, because that just seemed like a bit of a frivolous use.
Sure.
You're right. Another Caligos, so I don't, Or does he want the regular Alex Straza? Probably not too good state where he's at high health and Staz is at low health.
Yeah, and man, was that an underwhelming Alex Straza turn.
It was. Can Staz find some way to scrounge together lethal with this wand, maybe?
He needs 10 damage. It's, I think, technically possible.
With the Kronks? No.
Yeah.
But he's got a Bully, another one, which is huge. The whole hand for his Battlecry minions.
It is. The only real vestige of hope there for Flurry would be, I think, the Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron. Strange how often I end up saying that when it comes to this Mage deck.
We can see there's also potential for an absolutely bonkers Edwin, and Flurry does have Frost Nova though, so I guess Staz has to be a little bit careful about not board locking himself.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that it's not only Frost Nova stopping Staz from getting lethal, it's Frost Nova potentially allowing Flurry to hit lethal. So I want to see at least some trading here from Staz.
Sure, he's at 13.
Yeah, okay.
Scary. And the rope is burning. He gets the taunt Lackey, but no damage Lackey to kill off the Arjander. I mean,
Big deal.
we were asking a lot of Staz to find a way to deal with things and not fill the board. I'm not sure if that was completely possible and play the bully. But all things considered, that was still a pretty good turn for him.
What
In
to
time, all things are possible.
This will be very problematic for Staz now, though, because he has no board space. If he's able to get a backstab for his own minion, maybe something could get done.
It's an interesting line. So, Fireball is going to deal 10 to Edwin, potentially, because of the +2 spell damage. So then he could trade in the Argent Commander and get 2 to face. We're still not quite looking at lethal. I think that means it's going to be 1 off next turn, assuming Staz can't find any way of doing anything.
Based on what we see from the hand, that's exactly right. Okay, that means... I wonder if he should have played that immediately, if he wanted to maybe like save it for a guaranteed stunner. Because obviously the secret could go
Good
off.
point. Yeah. Probably will go
Oh,
off.
that's
Ooh,
lethal.
that's just lethal, yeah.
If Zephyrus cooperates...
Hey, there we go. Many different ways to hit it. I think Flurry's just thinking, okay, what are the secrets? What could it possibly be? Is there anything that stops lethal? No, there isn't. Let's go for the win.
That is game 1 to Flurry, which we thought in the mid game that it looked really, really strong for Staz, but it was that double trade and not play Tog turn. Sorry, that trade and dagger up instead of playing Tog turn that I think we can trace back to as the most questionable point.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree with you. The setup from Staz I thought was really, really clever. Picking the Fey Wing and playing it a turn earlier than we were expecting gave him a lot of pressure, set up for a strong Togwaggle next turn. I thought it was just really, really clever stuff. But it just kind of fell apart there in the middle. I think he prioritized getting rid of the 1 health guy with his dagger too much, but I don't feel like damage to face was his greatest asset that game. It was cheating out all that mana and hoping to get an early Galakron, which I think he should have doubled down on as much as possible. And in the end, that is, I think, what primarily led to him taking the loss there against the Mage. Now he is left with, now that his rogue is out of the way, the Hunter, Highlander Hunter, I believe, and the Demon Hunter. I think those are 2 pretty good matchups against the Mage, I would have to imagine. I think that Staz, while down a game here, is still in a really good spot.
Yeah, I think he's very much well positioned. And if I know Staz, he loves queuing Hunter into Mage. But I also love queuing Demon Hunter into Mage, just given that the Mage hardly has any healing left. And of course, their early game removal options are quite limited. So I think that the responsible pick is actually Hunter here. But I wouldn't fault Staz for going Hunter.
You can never fault Staz for going Hunter, because if you did, you wouldn't be friends. He always goes Hunter. It was how we saw his meteoric return in the 2nd season of Grandmasters season in 2019. He just absolutely destroyed with various kinds of Hunter decks, and I don't expect to see him slowing down here. But before we can see what he picks up against Flurry's Mage, we're going to have to go to a quick break. But when we come back, it is, of course, going to be the continuation of Staz versus Flurry. Welcome back yet again to Hearthstone Grandmasters. It is Asia Pacific. It is Saturday. It's our first game of the day. We got Staz, we got Flurry, we got Gia. It's go time. The perfect recipe for a great Hearthstone broadcast. And now, with Flurry on the Mage yet again, you were predicting that Staz will go with the Demon Hunter and be left in a pretty good position, you thought.
Well, I wasn't predicting Staz to go for Demon Hunter. I just feel like Staz likes playing Hunter into Mage. But
you said it was the responsible pick. So are you calling Staz irresponsible, Gia? Is that what you're accusing him of?
A man that goes with his gut. And often it works out for him. So who am I to criticize that? I was actually taking the break to kind of look up the stats on Highlander Hunter's performance versus Mage, and there's honestly not just enough of a sample size ever since the meta changed. So I couldn't actually tell you how well it's doing, but it seems like Demon Hunter is still solid, nearly 60% win rate versus Highlander Mage. So that's why I'm calling it responsible.
Yeah, I find that very easy to believe. I was saying with Rogue that they've lost a lot of their healing with Snip, Snap, and Ziliax going. Well, Mage has fallen into the exact same problem. But even despite what we were just talking about, Mage losing all their healing, Demon Hunter doing a lot early on, Staz still thinks it's worth going for the Highlander Hunter. And to be fair, it still can function as a very aggressive deck. It's got a lot of early game. The mid game is where the real power comes through. Early/mid game, turn 4 and then up into 7 is where things really start ramping up for the Hunter.
For sure. And like I said, Staz has played so much Highlander Hunter between this year and last year and ever since the age of the dinosaurs and everything. I think that he has way more stats than you would even find on these websites. So if he feels like this is more favored than Demon Hunter would be, or if he has maybe some clever strategy with LHS where he actually wants to save Demon Hunter for maybe after a counter is taken out of the way, then I trust him on that.
Of course he's got the stats, Gia. It's literally his name. With a Z, because he's cool and hip as well. Stats. Yeah, I don't know. Not one I'm going to try and do again on broadcast.
Player. But anyway, Staz
maybe
now has the option of 2 weapons to deal with this Zephyrus. It just doesn't feel good to coin weapon into weapon, though.
Doesn't feel good to allow the Fairy Dragon to die either. So the options are, I suppose, you go Fairy Dragon and then coin Dragonbane feels pretty powerful, because having an uncontested Dragonbane equals a ridiculous amount of damage, potentially.
It's true. And in most cases, you expect Mage to pick up Wild Growth there, so their turn will just be non-development. But it looks like Staz is coining out a weapon here. Going for the Stormhammer because he's probably planning to play Fairy Dragon on the following turn, so he could just get the free swing in.
That doesn't sound too bad at all. It's one of the reasons why Hunter, or I should say not Highlander Hunter, but Dragon Hunter, was so powerful against Mage in the last expansion. It really was far and away the worst matchup for Highlander Mage. Because they just died too quickly. There.
I mean,
that is
not that the overconfident Orc was too bad there. Of course, it would have just died, and the Fairy Dragon would have been able to value trade if Staz just attacks with a weapon first. So the Mana Saver is kind of premium there. And now Staz probably put off playing the Dragonbane now because it could easily be by a trade with the Mana Saver and just an additional spell.
And I think also he's actually just pretty happy to protect the Fairy Dragon and keep swinging face with the weapon. But man, was that pickup of Alexstrasza an important draw for Flurry. It allows him to go for Dragoncaster into Deep Freeze. He should maybe go for Arcane Breath first if he wants to do that this turn. Just to see what he discovers, in case there was something better. There probably isn't, but I don't know. I'll argue slight ordering mistake.
Right. I would also agree. So, both the Conjure's Calling and Frost Nova look like pretty good picks. I'm a bit partial to the
I think I prefer the Conjure. Yeah.
Because he's
it's possible
not the
that you
aggressor
could,
at this moment, but it looks like he could easily pivot to that in the coming turns.
Right, and if you need a Taunt or a Rush or a Lifesteal, it's honestly not that unlikely that you get it off a couple of Conjurer's Callings.
Mm-hmm. For Staz here, this is a bit of a disaster now. I'm looking at just playing Big Ol' Whelp and trading off the Mana Saver. But then at this point, he's perma-frozen.
Yeah, if he can't get clearing with a Zephyrus off the top as the pretty much only way, I'm thinking Staz may have just been iced out.
Excellent wordplay, Derek. Characteristic
Sorry,
of the
what?
number one player.
Oh, and he got it as well. Wow, what a great bit of casting from me.
So, if he is just going to try and set up a Zephyrus clear for the next turn, what does it give for 4 mana Shadow Flame?
Yeah, it's not great. You might be saving it for 7 with Brawl.
It's not great, but maybe there's some outcomes where Flurry gets something insane with the Conj, and
Maybe.
then Zephyrus can go for Shadow Word Ruin instead? I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
He doesn't even
double
need
Stormwind
to,
champion. Somehow.
This rolling fireball is absolutely nuts. Staz
Yep.
just doesn't have the damage because he's already missed 2 swings. Well, as of next
Even
turn,
gets the Orc down. Arguably an overextension here, I think, but given that again it's only 4 mana, I think Flurry realizes what can Zephyrus actually even offer.
he's short of even brawling this. So
Yeah.
yikes.
Shadow Flame clears off one thing. I'm
He's
not
dead
seeing
on
it.
board if he doesn't clear.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Could,
Maiev
yeah. And then he's alive at
leaves
1.
him alive. Yeah. Woof. I think he just got maged 2 games in a row.
Yeah, this game for sure, it didn't seem like he could have done much differently. The rogue one, maybe the mage could have gotten rogued in that case, but
Yeah, I think there were a couple of different things. But either way, in both games, it was Dragoncaster into cheating out a huge spell.
for sure.
It's why it was called Scam Mage for so long. Obviously, there was Pocket Galaxy in there as well. But just being able to cheat out these big spells is such a cornerstone of Mage strategy right now.
Looking back on the turn that Staz took the dagger trade instead of the double trade, I think the play we were suggesting was especially weak to Reno. But even then, I would call it still a suspect final decision from Staz. Because he could then try to come back against Reno with the wand, etc. And at some point, he was always just going to have to build a board that was a little bit not resistant to Reno.
Right.
In any case, Flurry has a very easy way of setting up a 2-turn lethal here.
Yeah. Just wondering, what should he do to make sure that nothing goes wrong? What are the possible outs? Like, does he have to ping face on this turn instead of Alexstrasza his own face? It's probably better, because then
think
even if
so,
Zephyrus
yeah.
Brawl comes down and Zephyrus wins, you have lethal.
I completely agree. He can even fit in a Conj if he wants to. Are there any disastrous 4-drops for him?
I mean, there's like bad ones like Magtheridon or something, but they're not disastrous, right? He's still winning
Right,
the game.
yeah. Nothing that damages himself.
Yeah.
Time runs out on me.
A card down
Ooh.
for his trouble.
And a card draw as well. Maybe you can just
Oh
draw the
my God.
prime.
Whoa. Oh, but he doesn't actually go for the ping here.
I think that's a slight mistake.
I agree.
Very slight.
On
Yeah.
the off chance that Zephyrus wins this brawl and then Staz can somehow heal out of range.
Yep.
Wait a sec. Is there a line with Frost Nova instead and get the hero power in? It's got Kill Command Dragon Thing. Probably not. You can't get through the taunt.
Probably not, yeah. There's just, if he had like Varanus Unleash or something like that and 1 more mana, maybe.
Zephyrus nearly won there. He was the second to the last out of the ring.
That's how it works.
There you go.
But-
Flurry with his little mouse pillow thing. Looking pretty strong in this series.
Also looking incredibly cute. But yes, Mage up 2-0. I mean, we were talking about this yesterday in the Europe broadcast, or Sotland Ravenwell. I think it was Yala who got the 3-0 sweep with his Mage. I was watching on my second monitor.
Versus
I was only
Tice,
listening.
right? I think so.
Yes, I think so. And it was looking very strong in that particular matchup. It's looking very strong yet again here. The only remaining deck now for Staz is the Demon Hunter, which I think is probably a very good matchup still. It's often in this situation in Last Heroes Standing where you bring your counter queue, and if that loses, you're just you got nothing going for you. You have a very, very small chance because your third deck probably isn't another good counter deck. This is why I would argue Mage shouldn't be a good bring here this week, is because it's felt like there have been 3 pretty decent matchups for Staz. One of 2 things are possible. Either I'm wrong, it's been known to happen, and Mage actually has a decent matchup against those 2 decks for Staz, or he's just getting pretty unlucky. Or he's playing bad. But I don't think that's really the case, apart from maybe the first game.
No matter what the situation is, if you're Staz, I still wouldn't feel down and out of it yet. If there's any deck that's the sweep, it's Demon Hunter with this opening hand. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Double Battle Fiend, the Twin Slice, the Sightless Watcher to make sure that the next draw won't be a whiff. Oof.
Illegal, one might say, AGM.
Yep, I am liking the look of Double Battle Fiend this turn. Even if a Doomsayer comes out, he's got the Twin Slice.
Whoa. Does that clear?
Wait, does it? Oh, is it? What
He could. Yeah, no, because he could hero power as well.
Right, yeah.
Even in Doomsayer's case, it's still good.
Yeah, and he's got Consume Magic to just silence a Doomsayer if it comes to that.
Oh, and he goes for 1 Twin Slice now anyway, that's pretty smart.
Yeah.
This is very smart, because then he can go next turn, second Slice, and Sightless Watcher, and he would still be able to take out a Doomsayer.
Makes a lot of sense. And if you're Flurry here, you just throw out the Ooze.
Yeah, I mean, it does a similar job, and you kind of have to save it, I think, for a potential Warglaives.
I mean... Warglaive seems like
oh, no, wait.
the
I
least
take it
of
back.
his worries at this point. Is it even in the list?
Not even in the list. It's the demon version with Priestess of Fury instead. Do you really want to see it now? It would have been taken up by second Slice hero power.
Yeah, but at least that's just a hero power on that turn. And then you could play Mana Saber, try to get to Reno. I don't know. I guess it works out the same way with double ping.
Yeah. I think I actually prefer Flurry's line here, because obviously if you knew that his card in hand was the 2-mana Sightless Watcher, maybe it would be worth it just to disrupt. But I feel like here this just gives you a more reliable clear, even though it's still obviously a pretty bad situation.
It's already down to 22. Flurry. And it's going to be another ping turn. Didn't get the chance to see what Staz ultimately took. Looks like it was the Raging Fell Screamer, actually. So this turn, looking kind of weak because he just wants to make sure he gets the 4 into 5 curve.
Yeah.
I say kind of weak, and yet Flurry's down to less than half his health. Oh.
Really? Even with the...
Yeah,
it's got to be a Consume Magic turn,
good.
right?
And he's also
yeah.
the Spectral Sight to kind of round out the rest
Start
of
with the
turn.
Spectral. Yeah. Spectral first, you can outcast it, then Consume. Like, turn 5, the best thing they can do is Rustied Raider, I think, which is obviously in hand. But nothing else has Taunt on 5. Or maybe Rolling Fireball would be a decent clear, but even then you're so likely with 3 cards drawn to have found something good, and at that point it's just a Metamorphosis GG.
I completely agree. I think that the Raging Fell Screamer is tunneling a little bit too much on the synergy. We talk a lot about how the 4 into 5 curve is really powerful, but in this particular situation, I definitely agree with the Consume Magic, but maybe not with it before the Spectral Sight.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not strictly wrong at all, because you can get yourself a 2 or a 3 drop to play with or without the hero power straight away.
True.
Which is what Staz ended up doing. Whether or not he would have done that if he could have played an outcasted Spectral Sight anyway is up for debate. But it's worked out fine, I think, is basically the point.
Oh, it's even taking a trade to deny Conjurer's Calling?
Do we care about that?
It depends. I mean, it could have taken a VT and then done the conj to be completely fair, but
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
I think the chances of if he's going to go for Conjurer's Calling there, he probably doesn't hit a taunt, which means he probably just dies.
It's true.
I think I preferred just going face there. I usually do, to be fair. It's not an especially insightful point, but
Yeah, that's what my first instinct would have been as well. But to be fair to Staz, maybe he's feeling like if the board gets cleared somehow or frozen, he doesn't quite have the burst in hand, no metamorphosis.
maybe. But either way, now for Flurry, he can go for Reno to clear up the board this turn. He does obviously have to be afraid. He's just seen a Fell Screamer, so he's expecting Priestess of Fury. But Reno this turn, Cutter on 6, or on the next turn. Or even Dragoncaster. I don't know, there's plenty of options now for Flurry.
And looking like he spent all of that time and floated mana to make sure that the Priestess of Fury gets played early, so it's just gotta be that. The hero power, try to get as much of this Priestess hits into the face.
Yoicks.
It's 3 on Reno. Flurry now, if he wants to get very greedy, could just conjure the Reno and freeze the Priestess.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well.
It's so scary to leave it up. Oh my goodness.
So what are the options? Conjuring the Priestess is always just bad, right? I think it just gives them... Yeah. I was just wondering, like, it stops the end of turn damage, but I think it's still probably just bad.
Oh, that's horrible!
Yikes.
Torment is not gonna matter at this point. He just got less that... Okay, it was a 4-3, so he gained +1 health, but... Oh man, that feels bad for Flurry.
Feels awful.
Now Staz rips the Spectral Sight. He's looking for Metamorphosis. He's looking for a weapon. So he can play the Fell Screamer, the Satyr, and Twin Slice.
Oh yeah, true, of course, because the discount. I wasn't even thinking about that. I mean, that seems very powerful, right? It's there's
Seems
some
very
consideration at this point, I think, to save Twin Slice for Altruist, because when your opponent's this low and double Skull in hand, but given that to play double Skull, you'd have to play the one Twin Slice anyway to get it over to the right-hand side. I think it's probably worth it just to throw it down on this turn.
I just like going for the max board development.
Sure. That's also valid as well. Much simpler.
I mean, so most of the Highlander mages have cut Flame Strike, so he's not particularly worried about that.
Good point.
Blizzard is a threat anyway, I suppose. So I completely agree with this from Staz. He's also thought about the rolling fireball positioning, I think, putting the 7 health next to the 4 health.
Good point. Yeah. To be honest, I wasn't even considering that. Ooh. Poly trade.
And the poly is just so much mana expended.
Yeah, it's so much
And
mana.
he doesn't have a taunt to go with it.
I wonder.
Does he have to just rely on an insane Conjurer's Calling?
Looks like it. That's no rushes. And
Yeah, I think that's just game.
it is, even if he polys the Priestess and takes a trade, there's still so much on board. And Staz comes back with Demon Hunter. And I could easily see a world where a reverse sweep is possible with this deck.
Definitely. I was looking a little bit scary towards the mid-game there. When Staz traded, which I still don't know if necessarily that was wrong at all. It had its upside, like you said, to stop the value trade. But it set off some alarm bells there. I was like, ooh, maybe the Mage can start to come back here. But Staz, in the end, is able to take a very well-deserved win. Now, again, last hero standing is the format. The Demon Hunter gets to queue up again. And Flurry has to answer with either his Hunter or his Rogue, I believe, is the 2 remaining decks.
That's right.
After the Demon Hunter was banned.
And between those two, I would much rather be the Rogue in that situation. Granted, this is not a Hunter I've been used to seeing recently. It seems like before Ashes of Outland, Hunter with the Dragon package was the whole ladder. And after Ashes of Outland, it was all Demon Hunter. They never had any overlap. So I don't know their matchup against each other. But just looking, I assume that Demon Hunter would be favored because they have so much more efficient ways to actually deal with minions. Even if their fairy dragons can't be targeted, well, Demon Hunter has weapons, they have Twin Slice.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. It's in those crucial turn 1, turn 2, maybe even as late as turn 3. Kind of seems stupid to say. That it's really the matchup is decided. They both have so much burst damage and so little healing, really. The little healing that Demon Hunter does have will make a big difference. Like if you can get a timely eye beam down, I could see that as just being GG on the spot.
For sure. And Flurry seems to agree with our assessment, and so he queues up his rogue first. Important to note, this is not Highlander, so we'll have doubles of the backstabs, and backstab miscreant on the coins seems pretty strong.
Both of these hands seem insane, right?
They do, but the rogue hand seems to be the kind of insane that wins. When you just match them up head to head, the backstab just negates all of Staz's early pressure from the battlefield. Umberwing, I suppose, is a little bit awkward, but Flurry's got Pharaoh Cat as well.
Yeah, Rogue is the kind of insane that wins, whereas Lorinda is the kind of insane that loses.
I guess he's just deciding between the Pharaoh Cat and the Spy Mistress.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough choice, actually. Yes. Like, Spy Mistress, I think, is fine to throw down as just delayed removal. Yeah.
It does line up better against things like Scyther, but worse into Fellwing and vice versa for Pharaoh Cat. So, can't really swing one way or the other for Flurry.
I think I probably prefer Spectral Sight here, because Umberwing just allows... do you prefer the Umberwing?
It seems to be okay lining up into this board.
Well, my thinking was that Spectral Sight is... Well, it's outcastable now is the big thing before a card's drawn off the top.
That's true.
This just plays a 1-1 into a dagger, which the rogue usually, I would say, wants to do on turn 2 anyway. And I think I would rather play the Umberwing on the turn that I'm attacking into something. Maybe I'm overthinking it.
No.
It's decent board development.
It's completely fair to say, especially since this version from Staz is the higher end, heavier version with the demon package, so it's more likely that the Spectral Sight actually gets locked in. So considering that, I definitely see your point. Now the turn is very slow from Staz here. He doesn't even want to use the weapon charge, but he doesn't want to float the hero power. Granted, he's setting up, I suppose, for what could be a very strong turn 5 with the Fell Screamer plus Satyr plus Twin Slice, or just the weapon if he still has it by then.
I think I like attacking face on this turn. Yeah, given that you've got double Twin Slice in hand, like even just if you just plan out this hand, you can go Kane on 4 with a Twin Slice if you need, and then Fell Screamer plus Satyr on 5 with the second slice if you need. It just works out.
Flurry with a very, very easy miscreant. That's not getting played this game.
Nope.
But honestly, he might not need it. I feel like Flurry stayed ahead. He's got just lackeys to pull him out of strange situations, I guess. Rogue spells tend to be very good.
Yeah, I totally agree. There are a few powerful plays that Staz can still do to pull this back. If Flurry doesn't get the reactive cards he needs off of Ethereal, maybe things can go a bit wonky if these Satyr Overseers can go wide enough.
I think I remember seeing a matchup from EU yesterday that I can't quite remember who, but was Demon Hunter versus Rogue. Granted, not the specific version of Rogue, but Rogue had a great start. Demon Hunter had a totally bad opening hand, but the Demon Hunter just kept going face and only taking trades when it was absolutely necessary. Then the Rogue just fizzled out towards the end.
Yeah.
So it's completely possible still, but looking unlikely.
That's the thing, is that Rogue has... Flurry here has all the powerful early game he could possibly need. What he's missing are the finishers. Togwaggle, Galakron, Kronks. Colossus of the Moon kind of counts, but not really.
Altruist. Does that unlock any possibilities for Staz? Not with this hand. He's, I think, hoping for skulls.
Oh, I see his weakness.
But it's still a pretty powerful board he's managed to put together this turn.
Yeah, it really is. And this is what I mean. The Rogue, if it doesn't hit the reactive cards it needs, it might start to fall behind. But now Galakron's off the top.
Oh my.
Just needs to avoid a bit of damage. And I think that Flurry might be able to get there.
Yeah. The options here involve some type of eviscerate turn, or I could also just see using the Devoted Maniac into the 4-2 and possibly evolving his Miscreant. It does leave more damage on board.
It does.
But the thing with the Eviscerate play is that you float so much mana unless you get something good off of Ethereal.
Okay. This is sacrificing a little bit of health for more mana utilization and more tempo, but with the Nightshade Matron! Flurry! Oh my god!
I think that just is out. He was completely relying on getting the 6 to face to even have a shot at this game. Now...
Get out of here!
Oh, I hate to see it. So, Altruist is achieving a decent amount of damage, but my gosh, it's just so fragile here.
I just want to take this opportunity to say that Flurry definitely made the correct play. I take back any reservations I had.
Why is this card 4 mana?
Which one?
The Nightshade Matron.
Oh, yeah.
Evolving into that should be illegal.
Oh, it is.
Okay, I think right from Staz here to hold on to Altruist, I think he realizes that's his only out now to win the game with some type of skulls off the top and just cycle.
Yeah.
Maybe the cane sticking, and that's why he took the trade, but even that is going to bite the dust. Care of Flick. That's a special sight.
Oh, that's a good draw. That is a very, very big draw.
Huh? Okay.
Those are 2 more big draws.
So
Man, you could never count them out. Imagine thinking that Demon Hunter doesn't have cards.
They don't, but Rogue has Galakron. So it's just the Raging and the Hero Power here. He'll curve into the Priestess and hopefully, for Staz's sake, get something else to do with his mana. Just gonna hope that gets there and maybe have the juice for Altruist to close out. It's looking less and less likely though.
Okay, well, I believe that invokes numbers 3 and 4 with Devoted and Seal Fate on this turn. And I've got to be honest, I think that seems like the play, right? Just get Galakron down next turn.
Very winning. I think Galakron this turn is already winning, but the Seal Fate Devoted seems like very winning.
It's got to be worth diverting for a turn, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think so. The one problem is hand size, because if you play both of those, if you play the Devoted and the Seal Fate, you're up to 9 cards next turn, which means even playing a Lackey that doesn't generate anything would put you at 1 card overdrawing.
Oh! This also looks like very winning. This line, sure, and he gets to play the Devoted as well. Or he gets to ship a Fireball Face. That looks strong. Everything looks strong. Staz looks out of this. He looks like he's going to be the first to advance to the winner's bracket.
Oh my god, whatever Flurry has got bubbling in that Witch's Cauldron, I want some, because it is doing insane amounts of good to his gameplay.
It's that little mouse
Nightshade
behind him.
Matron into Antonidas. Hello?
You know how Remy controls Linguini when he's cooking? And he sits on top of
Yes.
his head? Flurry's got this little rat calling the shots for Hearthstone. And he's an absolute god, that little mouse.
He's just got Nightshade Matron in one hand and Antonidas in the other, and he's like, yes, the flavors combine so beautifully.
Oh my gosh. So for real, what can Staz even do here? Just Priestess, hope he's not dead next turn, and then try to get Altruist into... both specs have been played.
Yeah, he
Damage
can't play
just
Skull
doesn't
either.
get there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oof. That's my assessment of this game. Okay, I guess he's instead going for the other way around, trying to soften up the board so the most Priestess hits can go face, or as many as possible. Could even clear off the Antonidas. Great Heart Sage comes into hand, the one that you're very amused to see make it into the list. Probably not getting played, but probably not necessary.
Oi, oi, oi. Backstab, fantastic.
Oh, it is getting played. Never mind.
Yeah, just wants to make hand space. I mean, he's just winning as long as he doesn't lose board.
Okay, is there a chance? Maybe this priestess could run a runner, clear everything. That's not a great draw off the top, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be Skull now, or maybe Metamorphosis on the next turn is quick enough. Yeah.
Maybe, and it has to be the
Maybe.
Galakron completely going. Like Shadow Step, Secret. I don't know. Wait, he doesn't play secrets.
Yeah.
I don't see it.
Whoa! That was a pretty filthy priestess turn, though. However, clearing the board entirely.
If you're gonna talk about filthy, wait till you see this 7-cost card. Okay,
Bad.
that's kind of a whiff.
Bad.
That's kind of a whiff. Kind of a whiff.
Bad.
Good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
I mean, he just gets a bunch of lackeys, right? One rush lackey closes this out, I'm pretty sure.
Buff the attack, rush lucky. Yeah, you can take out the priestess. Okay, okay.
Staz, without any cards left, looks like he's going to fall to Flurry's Stealth Galakron Rogue. Is it Flurry's?
It's Skull or
is it
Bust.
Rats? You'll never know. Even with the skull, how does he deal 21 from this position and not die on the next turn?
It's a very interesting question, Gia. I defer to you as the analyst for the answer.
My answer is no.
A valid response. Okay, if it was
There's
gonna
your skull.
happen, now's the time.
Poor warlock.
Come on, Scully Wally.
Well,
Yeah, well, much like another Scully I know, that was completely useless.
when are we getting the Hitchcock of Gul'dan?
Careful.
So, unrolling, hero power. Not quite enough. He plays the other I-beam. He's not necessarily dead this turn. Hey, did we just get to see the Colossus of the Moon played? Do it. No, that's probably the only way he loses. Wait!
Hey!
The absolute madman! Wait. Is there an out now? The other skull? The other skull?
The other
was
skull!
like- The other skull? What?
The second skull.
Wait a minute. That's a metamorphosis for 2 mana. That's... Draw? That's draw?
0 mana Chaos Strike, right? So that's
So-
3, 4.
Oh, man.
Metamorphosis and then draw with the consume.
But I don't think there's any damage left in the deck.
Could he
used both
clear
Twin Slice?
Could he just clear the 10/10 with the Metamorphosis hero power? He's one off, right, without tanking it.
Yeah. Not seeing it.
If he goes for the silence, yeah.
Demons.
Ooh. 4, 6, 8. Is that 13 damage he has available this turn, though? He should not be anywhere near that close.
He shouldn't.
Grows short.
You're right, it is 13. If he had gotten the Metamorphosis 1 turn earlier.
Yeah, he might have actually won.
Oh my god.
Now I am complete.
Okay, maybe Colossus wasn't the only way Flurry loses. Like, maybe he knew there was just no
Yeah.
possible combination of cards.
I mean, it was probably still his
Yeah.
best chance of just winning next turn anyway. Because as long as he Staz can't clear, he wins.
It was nuts how close that got.
That was incredibly close, but at the end of it all, Flurry is declared a fantastic mage / rogue player. And like you said, whether it was him or old Remy back there, he is the champion. And unfortunately for Staz, in his second top 8 in a row, he drops down to the bottom elimination match first things off. It's still very impressive that he got two top 8s in a row. The fact that we're seeing him here is impressive in its own right, even if he's losing once he gets here. But as we were saying, given that he has the pretty much identical lineup to Surrender as our first player through to the top 4 yesterday, I think he's still got a really good shot at turning things around and coming in as the second seed through to the top 4.
For sure. And I can't help but wonder how things might have panned out if that one togwaggle at the beginning was played a little bit earlier. And the nature of LHS is that it just could have changed the whole series outcome and not just that one game.
That's very true. But however, for Flurry on the other side, I think he displayed a lot of skill that game. I think he played very, very well overall. It was mainly just pretty solid play on the Mage, nothing too fancy at all, but I think piloted very well. And we can now see how that rewards him going over to the bracket. He is our first player through to the winners match. If after our next match, which will be Kin versus Tyler, Flurry is going to be playing against whoever is the winner of that match. That's going to be a pretty good one, in my opinion. Kin, a player that we saw last week as well, didn't quite make it through to the top 4, but I think still played very, very well.
For sure. Kin is a player that I guess I've known for quite a long time just because he's been participating a lot. No, not personally. I just mean in the APAC scene. He's been playing in the old circuit. He's been playing in local tournaments that maybe don't get broadcast to the whole global scene. But from that time, he was already very well respected, now making his foray into the Grandmaster scene. And I think showing his skill to make it to